I'm Van.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Gulpy and Chip and Ghosty.
Congratulations to Stephanie and Dan De Herrera on the birth of Naomi De Herrera. Jacob can't wait to meet the new cousin. Shout out to my buddy Steve De Herrera.
So is he an uncle now?
Inshallah. Shout out to the big homie. I haven't talked to you in a while, bruh. Text me. What's wrong with you? This is from the big homie Raymond Worth. I think Raymond, he first found us on the Middle America channel. Oh. I think. For timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. This is for the big homie Raymond.
We have a $75 partner tier if you want to jump on with us. And you can jump on for just 1 month, or you can go through PayPal. And it's $75 to have a song reviewed. So if you're like, I want my song reviewed and I can't wait another whatever amount of time it might take, then that's the way to do it. Or you can jump on a Patreon for less than that, and like $1 a month. And if you do that one, it gives you points, so that way you can go into an alliance and vote to get your song reviewed. So
I think for the $10 and up people, we should do a random drawing every month for a shirt. Don't you already give shirts if they did 2 months at $20?
Well, we can talk about that after.
I'm sorry. You just erased this whole part. Okay. So this is The Refused, and the name of the song is Summerholidays vs. Punkroutine.
Okay,
you gotta put a space between punk and routine.
And go.
accomplished nothing, not even failure. Not even failure. Not even failure. Not even failure. meet these guys in Punk Week. I think this is about. You know what's weird? It's only a 4-minute song. It felt a little bit longer than 4 minutes. Did it feel?
Yeah.
Usually not a good sign.
Yeah.
But, the song is about basically not selling out, right? Like
that's what it seemed like. Well, no, actually, that's not what I got from it. What do you mean not selling out?
Well, that's what happens. The band is small, they're underground, and they're like, we're keeping it real. Remember I said, like,
I thought he was talking about being afraid to go to that next level. That they weren't going to be afraid to go to try for that next level.
Well, those are not necessarily mutually exclusive, because what happens is when you make a song or a record and it's doing great, the record company comes back to you and says, do it just like that. Do another record like that.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, you know, AC/DC, basically, people, you know, kind of talk about how, like, they only have one record, basically. It's because they... So even if they're trying something new, that would be different from what they're being told to do. You see what I'm saying? So it's the whole... Once you get big, now you're a sellout. So, and he's saying, you know, the crux of the thing is, I'd rather be forgotten than remembered for giving in. Like, you know, because there's all the rhetoric, like, don't you want people to remember you? This is going to take you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, let me get...
giving in is giving into what? Doing what the record label wants you to do?
Selling out, yeah. Do what the record label wants you to do. And then other than that, like, see, I'm tired of losing myself to some stupid childhood dream of what could have been.
What I could have been, yeah.
What I could have been, which is basically the, you know, hey, I want to be a rock star, blah, blah, blah. But then, you know, the reality of it is once you get there and you start getting successful, then the art isn't about your art anymore.
Yeah.
For the record label, it's what's going to generate the most revenue.
Yeah.
Which I'm not mad at the record label, that's their job, right? Your job as an artist is to either say, okay, I can work from within the system, you know, and there's a lot of people that do that, or you can say, no, I'm going to completely protest the system and continue to point out its flaws. I think both ways are credible ways of solving a problem, but what he's saying here is like, you know, look, I worked my whole life for this.
Yeah,
and now
I think if you can work within the system, it's cool for you because you're able to make more money and, you know, whatever. But if you...
It's capitalist story.
Yeah, but if you can't work within that system, I don't think that you should lose your soul that's in your art because you're trying to make it fit into somebody else's bracket.
Right. Well, it's easy for you to say. You know, you're not in their situation. You know what I mean? Like, if you got 5 kids, and if a record label said, hey, we'll give you this contract for $6 million if you just make the same exact record you did before, then, you know, it'd be different. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
That happens with us, where people try to censor us and tell us what to do. You need to do more of this. You need to stop talking about your religion, blah, blah, blah. And in the early days...
do that one more time, I'm unsubscribing.
Right. So, but to me... That line really resonated with me as far as, like, I'd rather be forgotten than remembered for giving in, because we talk about this all the time. Like, I have a certain code, and, you know, it's not something I'm ever going to compromise on for anyone or anything. And so I don't care, you know, and it kind of, I'm not really worried about people's public perception of me at all, for better or for worse. What I am worried about, though, is can I look myself in the mirror and say, okay, I've been consistent with, you know, not necessarily my worldview per se, but I've been consistent with living in such a way that can be defined as integrity. And at the end of the day, that's all you have. You know, and I think a lot of times what happens is when you start getting into the elite level of anything, they're going to want you to compromise, either to go along with the herd mentality, or they're going to have you compromise so that, you know, they can control you. And what he's saying is, no, I'm not doing that. And I think that's something, that's a value. It's really interesting. Like, the previous generation, I want to say Generation X, you know, is this very kind of postmodern, do what works for you, I'll do what works for me. Like, you know, nobody's idea is better than anybody's idea. Nobody can judge anybody. Like, that was like the previous kind of generation. This new generation is not like that. They're not moral relativists, and they're very, you're wrong. And you're a bad person. And, you know, like, so I think it's dealing with that kind of, like, you know, evolution in thought, even though, you know, this was recorded in 98, but it's the same kind of concept, I think, you know. I think everybody's got their own kind of internal compass to bring them north, and I think you get in, I don't care if you're atheist or Christian, obviously we're Christians, but I think you get in serious trouble when you start violating that Jiminy Cricket, whatever you want to call it, inside of yourself.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That says, this is bullshit, you were not made for this, you were not made to do this.
This thought is in my head, and I'm not even sure how. I feel like I fried my brains from so many escape rooms. Like I need to rest my head, but like I keep thinking. For some reason, this song is making me think about accepting people for who they are instead of trying to change them and make them something else. And like there was certain expectations. Like if you come into a relationship with certain expectations and like ideals in your mind of what you think the person should be or what you want the person to be rather than just loving them for who they are, then you're time and time again you're disappointed by who they are and how they haven't measured up and stuff, or you'll put pressure on them to change and to become somebody else, the person that you want them to be, and you lose so much of them. So like just being able to see people for who they are and love them for who they are. Obviously if we have bad things in us we need to change those things, but if it's not that and it's just that person is like that and it's a quirk and it annoys you or whatever, like it's like that's them, just love them for them, and it makes up for a much better relationship. Maybe I'm thinking about that because of the whole like giving in, he's talking about the music industry, but I think that a lot of people feel that pressure to kind of give in to who they really are for a relationship, for a job, for whatever different scenarios and situations, but kind of not losing yourself while in the pursuit of finding whatever your path is something that is sometimes something you have to balance out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you see how that ties in?
No, because obviously the enemy here is the record label and things like that.
Yeah, but we all don't have record labels.
And selling out would be to conform to what they want so that you can, whatever. Yeah. But I think you're dealing with the people that the song is addressing.
Yeah. And
there are different ways. So like he's got this line where it says, I'm certain that what motivates me is more rewarding than any piece of paper, which, again, that's a sellout thing.
Yeah.
But you could replace money with a relationship. Mm-hmm. Like there's so many relationships, like to your point, where it's like you can't be who you are as a person. Mm-hmm. Like you've got to be the way they are. And actually, it's one of the signs of abuse, actually. Mm-hmm. This forced conformity or this conditionalism, like if you don't do this, me and you are done, like the constant blackmailing of the person. So then now you have to compromise your integrity in order to stay in this relationship because your greatest fear is being alone. If you're an artist, your greatest fear is being broke, especially if you have, family and all that to take care of. So you get dangled this thing to question your integrity because you've got this problem.
I wonder, though, if their greatest thing is being broke or if it's the fear of failure. Like, how there's certain, if somebody goes into music, there's like all these people that are saying like, oh, that's never going to go anywhere. You should get a real job, blah, blah, blah. And like wanting to prove those people wrong and prove that you could really do it. And then having that fear of what if I fail? And then you have to hear everybody saying, you know what I mean? Like that. The money thing I think is a big thing, obviously, especially if you have a family. But a lot of times, we've seen people leave jobs where they were getting paid more money to go to a less paying job because that job was going to approve of them more. You know what I mean? Like, you don't remember those? Yeah, I've known people that have done that. Like they went to a job where they would get more positive affirmation, or people that those plaques that your job gives them are very, very important to them. So like that feeling of like, you know what I mean?
Oh, I agree. And I think, like this line right here, what motivates me is more rewarding than any piece of paper. It's like, in the Christian world, you've got the guys who died as martyrs, and then you look at their journal, they say, I never made a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And the reason they even though they sacrificed their lives for the people that they were trying to reach, he's saying it wasn't a sacrifice in the sense that he enjoyed doing it.
Yes.
So that there's the reward.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people like try to make people heroes for not selling out.
Yeah.
Like not selling out doesn't mean you're a hero. It just simply means that you've got the basic understanding of what integrity is. Mm-hmm. But the bar is so low because so many people have sold out that it creates a really dangerous environment. Mm-hmm. And ironically enough, having a billionaire, I don't know if we've ever had a sitting president as a billionaire, But having a billionaire actually kind of works that way to some degree because there's no lobby that can convince Trump to do something by flashing a couple $1 million in his face. And he'll be like, that's 4% of my net worth, bruh. Like, try again. You know, so it's very, very weird.
Yeah.
But I think the point is very important to be made. Like, this is not just about money. In their particular case, it is about money. But jobs are like that. People compromise who they are and at the root of who they are.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. People do it for jobs. They do it for relationships. They do it for all kinds of different reasons.
Yeah.
You know.
I had a family member who's doing some pretty important stuff in the world, and you know, elite level shit, and he, you know, they wanted him to compromise a certain aspect of who he was, and he refused to do it. You know, he kind of like he just refused, and it's like I was talking to him, I'm like, yo, like the organization that he's part of is like I've been in situations where it's like they don't tell you anything. They just, okay, da-da-da. But like, that's not the situation he's in. And so like, if it was me, I would have done what they told, I would have done it. But he was like, nah, fam. Like, I'm not doing it. Because it's a big, it took him years and years and years to get there. And so he wasn't going to just throw that away because some people were trying to question his patriotism, which is very ironic considering what the man does on a day in and day out basis, and what our family has sacrificed. I'm talking about all of us have sacrificed for this country. It's crazy. They try to question that, and that wasn't the case with him. But he also was not going to compromise that personal integrity. He wasn't going to do it, and I love him for that. So it's one of those things. You know, one of the most important verses in the Bible to me is like there's this forbidden food that the Babylonians were trying to get the Israelites to eat and drink from, and it said they already decided in their hearts before they even sat down they weren't going to do it. And so like that always stuck in my mind. Like before you run, when you see that shit coming around the corner and you know that it's going to be tempting, like just decide within yourself, I am not doing this. It's a done deal, as in it's not going to happen. I'm not compromising, period. So
don't wait till you're in the heat of desire to decide what you are and are not going to do.
It's true.
Think while you can still think.
It's really true. It really, really is true. But people wait until their core principles are about to, like, till it's right on the front door.
Yeah.
And then they start reacting all panicky, and then they wonder why they slipped up. And it's like, you know, you got to kind of walk through life with eyes open and realize the type of world that you're in, and realize. And I go through this every so often. Like, I always talk about going through the progressions, but I always go, what are my non-negotiables, and what am I willing, what do I believe, but what am I willing to throw away, and what do I not really believe at all, right? So like, you know, there's things that are non-negotiables for me, period. And then there's things where it's like, I believe it, but I'm not. You know, and then there's other things where it's like, nope, not doing that ever. And so I think it's healthy to have, you know, I don't want to say lists, but ideology like that. What do you give the song?
Oh, I wasn't really a fan, actually, of it.
You don't really like punk.
So, like a 5.
5? You're crazy.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, for the topic, I'll put it up to a 6. That's it.
I think that.
Sorry, Raymond.
Well, I mean, I just think that punk is a different type of genre. Although they were on the more produced end side of punk. Like, the production was fancy.
I feel like I've liked some of the punk songs, but...
Yeah. The production here was fancy by punk standards, I think. So...
What's it for you?
I'd say this is a 8.8.
Oh, okay.
I think it's an 8.8. The song kind of dragged on a little bit. It was only 4 minutes, so that kind of bothered me. There wasn't really a lot of movement or progressing anywhere, but lyrically, I mean, scared that we might fail, we'll accomplish nothing. Not even failure. Brilliant line.
That was good, yeah.
Brilliant line. And, you know, it's one of those things where he probably feels that way. Like, you work all the time, you get to a certain height, da-da-da-da, and now it's like, either you compromise or you lose everything, and it's like, okay, we failed at that. Good Lord.
Yeah,
crazy stuff. Thank you to the big homie Raymond. Keep watching, buddy. VIN out.
Sorry out.
Gone.